I'm Ashley Black. Then we have Bart Jameson, who has a million different degrees and all kinds of cool stuff. He has such a vast experience working with NFL players. He was actually with a team, and all the running injuries. In this vlog, we're going to address the top 6 running injuries. And when we were going through them, we were basically like, we can fix all of this if we can head it off at the pass before it becomes a problem. Can you name them off the top of your heads? Shin splints.
Shin splints, stress fractures.
Plantar fasciitis. Was it IT band syndrome?
IT band syndrome.
Chondromalacia.
Hamstring issues.
Hamstring. Somebody read the blog.
Really good.
So these are all things that I think if you back it up to how did it even start in the first place, it always does kind of come down to what is the fascia doing. So the blog is about how important alignment is and how important having all the soft structures open and mobile. So I'm going to turn it over to Errol, Errol, just give him, he has quite the resume to comment on running. So we'll just let him, go off.
That's why we brought him in.
That's why we brought him.
I'm Errol Nolan, the second 400-meter runner. Ran at U of H, ran at the Olympics in 2012. I'm an NCAA champion, the 400 meters indoors. Multiple-time All-American,
and at one point you were the fastest man in the world at the 400 meter.
Yeah, national champion indoor.
When you work with track and field, they measure everything. It's like working with a golfer. So when we go do treatments, we can see almost immediately, right?
Exactly what's going on.
Exactly what's going on.
Standing up right now.
I know, I just was about to adjust my pelvis. So he has an amazing coach that we have both worked with over the years. I guess just characterize I don't care if you're the weekend runner, the marathoner, or the Olympic sprinter. That's not really a sprinter, 400. I'll call it a sprinter, I like it.
The whole time. They're sprinting the whole
Fast
time.
guys. Explain to our audience, because particularly the women, they for sure have never really been exposed to this type of stuff, or our little everyday gals. How important alignment is to running?
Alignment. Like me, just adjusting my pelvis a while ago.
Show them what you used to do. No, show them from the side. Okay? So everything that I say in my book about the bucket, how many times did your coaches say, what do they call it? They say, get your legs under you, or what is the...
Get your butt under you.
Get your butt under you.
Get your butt under you, yeah.
But once you fix it, you're an inch taller. You're able to lift your leg, actually. When you have it down, you can't lift your leg as high.
When I can give you all the scientific reasons, but any qualified track coach or Olympian can tell you that having your pelvis level is huge. Now, that's part of the alignment.
Yes.
What about the legs and the ground strike? Like, how important is it to have, the ankle, the knee, the hip, the pelvis under you? To me, it's the difference between completely being injured and not even being able to run. And then once you fix it, those little micro making it even better and better and better is where you become the gold medalist versus, not.
Yeah, let's say, because it all comes to being open. When you pull on your ankle can come out of the joint, and you release it back. Like, that's the openness. Like if it's locked in there, you can't really get the power off the ground like you want. For the average runner, everyday runner, you're not really looking for power. You're just looking to get to the next step. It's gonna feel like you're stomping every step rather than really bouncing. And that running should be like a real fluid bouncing movement. But if you're stomping, you're gonna be stuck in the ground every step, and that's gonna make
it slows you down. It ricochets up the body.
You said such good words.
I know, I love it. We're all like, we've got a real runner.
Yeah.
And when we worked together over the years, I would literally we would nugget the Achilles, we would open the ankle, and he would go run. And then he would say, oh, I feel it in my hamstring. So it's kind of like you got to go chasing it, because it's a whole body, not just a thing. Just because you present with chondromalacia or tight IT band, that is the result of usually an alignment issue.
A runner is like, if he's jamming his ankle like he's describing, he's definitely not going to be able to get that power and speed.
Right, it's like taking the shocks out of your car.
I mean, and someone like a real high performing athlete, like a track athlete for the Olympics, that race is run by milliseconds.
One of the other things you mentioned, and women too, you know, if we want to start to get in shape, then we need to get on an elliptical and we need to practice the tracking and the butt under, or what'd you call it?
Put your butt under yourself.
Yeah, put under your butt under yourself, or like in my book, I call it the bucket. And we practice those mechanics before we start to add impact.
It's cliche.
Because impact, neurologically, it adds a whole nother element. And I go back to the body hacks because I do explain that I don't have a problem with impact sports. It's that if you're gonna act like a professional track athlete, you need to train like one and recover like one. Okay, you can't just get off of work stressed out, drink some coffee, and go for a run. Like, that's just not how it works. Because everything that he just said in terms of alignment, if you ground strike, particularly if you're a distance runner, wrong,
Yes.
then what starts to happen? You've had it happen to you. It goes up the chain. I specifically remember your hamstrings.
When I have my pelvic out, I can't lift my legs, so I'm using a lot more muscles in other areas. My hamstring exactly, to where I overwork it, and that's done. I go to Ashley. help me. But
It's so funny because all the concepts that you're talking about for a professional track athlete are the same concepts that we talk about. What he just said for the ladies, sorry men, that's the vagina forward. When we're talking about getting the pelvis under you, and we talk about a string on the vagina forward, all I'm trying to do is get your pelvis under you because the core is the center of gravity. We literally have seen studies where when someone is on a treadmill with their transverse abs engaged and their pelvis under them, that the weight distribution is less than if you turn the transverse abs off. So you're actually pounding, like you said, stomping. So we're all saying the same things, and it goes for running and it goes for walking.
when your core is off, you're gonna strain your other muscles, including your hips and your hamstrings, especially.
Also, something I want to talk about that you said about the hamstrings just being a trash. So what happens, and we talk about this in the blog, so now is a good time to bring it up. This is just the intro to this blog that I'm so stoked about. But when your pelvis gets like this, okay, so I'm exaggerating, but look what happened to my hamstrings. Okay, so my hamstrings are already elongated, right? Rather than being here. So when we think of it scientifically, a muscle is supposed to contract, relax, and then it gets elongated. So if you're already elongated, how can you possibly get to that? If the pelvis is like this, hamstrings are I'm not going to say they're rendered inactive, but I'm going to say they're rendered not so great, okay? So if you're here and your hamstrings are long, so they're not able to actually cycle through the range of motion, and then you get the impact, there's no core stabilizing you, so then the entire brunt of the run is going right to the low back.
Bone on bone, exactly.
Banging your lumbar vertebrae together. And then I also want to talk about upper body, because I was about to say, you know, everybody kind of thinks it's the legs and the pelvis and all that, but one of the things that Errol and I would work on, and it was funny, do you remember this? You were really young, but I used to make him, you know, do this. So, okay, y'all all try it because it's not, yes. So engage your core, you guys can try it out there. So when you run, first of all, it's not like this. It is literally hand in the pocket, right?
Thanks,
You're probably better than me. Yeah. Okay, so what I used to do with Errol is I would make him put his feet together, which semi throws him off balance. I probably would go shoulder width apart or running distance apart. So if you do this, I want to see if I'm better than you. Okay, so running motion. Now go faster. You notice how I'm not moving and neither is Errol. So you'll either see, you'll either see this, right?
Yeah.
Or you'll see the bounce, or you'll see.
And that bounce is because their hamstrings are tight. Usually.
Right. So for an Olympic athlete, the hands are
important.
just as important. But for just a regular runner, you know, if your core is all over the place and you can't do this, then you're not going to be able to do it when you go to run. You got to pull the traps down, okay? So let's use, we have a perfect anatomy chart here. So if you do scapular depression for me, so you're going to pull your shoulders down towards the ground, but not squeeze them, okay? Then fire your core at the same time, okay? The reason this is important for bracing is because it's the lats that attach here at the low back, and then the transverse abs also attach here at the low back. So when you scapular depress or shove your shoulders down and engage your core at the same time, it's like you're giving yourself a brace for running. Keep your tissue open. Make sure every toe can roll independently, which we have tons of videos about that. Make sure that your knee and hip and everything are in alignment, and then get that, you know, running posture good. And then you can take ground strikes and your body can handle it. And then go back to what I said. Every hour you spend running, you spend recovering. And I don't just mean laying in the bed with a glass of wine. That's not recovering. I mean fascia blasting, getting in heat, stretching, and allowing the tissue to recover. Can you tell them too? Because I think that people think that they can go out, like I'm thinking of like our CrossFitters and people who just like work all day and do crazy sports. Tell them from an Olympian standpoint, what is the limit of how much training someone can take in a day?
Like they say, the first day coming back from off season, how much training I can take in a day. Let's say I go and do a 2-mile run just to get back in shape. And
A jog.
A jog.
A jog for him.
And I come back, I sit home, I stretch, I do my fascia blast. I'm gonna be sore for about a good week. Like, you still go back out for that week, the first week. Let's do every other day. Then that's like, let's say 3 days. So let's push it up to 4 days the next week.
And you also wouldn't start with 5 miles.
No, I
Why
said,
not?
I said 2. I said 2
And if
miles.
you're deconditioned and you're not aero, you might want to consider being on the elliptical for a month, walking on a treadmill
all
for a
right.
month,
Run, walk.
and then run, walk. Exactly. I also want to talk about like these 6 injuries because I really do, and you'll see in the blog that I want to back it up, and I want to see what the root is. We're not saying we can cure these injuries. What we're saying is they should have never happened in the first place. So let's rewind and see if we can't do it differently. Because some of the things that I talk about, they're in every single training room, and I want to talk about how the fascia blaster is different than foam rolling, lacrosse balling. And by the way, one of my videos is going to have a softball in it because I like that for digging in hamstrings and glutes. But let's talk about how different the fascia blaster is.
Really to get in between joints, to get the knots.
Dig out the Achilles, for sure.
That's exactly what I used it for.
Yeah.
You should have seen me at the regionals one year. But
Grinding it out. Everybody begging, please
the
do mine.
nugget, to me, the nugget was the most beneficial thing. It's travel size. Put in your pocket.
Yeah, if you travel as a runner, the Mini 2 is going to be the tool for you because
That's it.
the fascia blaster to me is to open to get to the deeper stuff so that you can come back in with the nugget. So anyone questioning, unless you really need your whole leg, then I would say get the big one and the nugget. If you've got plantar fasciitis or hands, I would have to say the face blaster is the best one. So I guess that's a whole nother conversation.
It is.
But in terms of like, I think in the videos we're going to talk a lot about how, you know, people think it's muscles, but what we're really trying to do with the fascia is to separate the muscles so that they can act independently. So you want to address that kind of at a scientific level?
Yeah, so like pretty much what we're trying to do is we're just going to put the muscle, like the muscles get adhesed to one another, different, like the like say the
It's
calf.
like this, like, okay, so if we this is the IT band, okay? This is the quad and this is the hamstring.
Sure.
So everybody's worried about this IT band, but the reality is that your job, do your job. Your job is to contract down that way, and my job is to contract this way, basically. Like the quads.
They're counteracting.
Yeah, they do different things. So what is happening in the middle? You're having like a IT band tug of war. So the fascia blaster's claws literally go, and this is one of the videos we're going to show, to separate this out so that he can do his thing. You know, and I can do my thing. And I think that's huge. You cannot have muscles that do opposing things with something in the middle and all be stuck together and expect it to work.
And like the fascia connects everything together. So like if like the hamstring will cross to the calves via the fascial connection.
Yeah.
So it's all connected. Like
I mean, we've even seen on Errol one time, his anterior tibialis, which is this, boy, he is not a good patient right now. But this muscle, I have literally seen it so tight from the fascia that it comes up and over the shin. So these are all things that we're going to discuss in the blog. So we're going to break it down to the 2 easiest things. This is always going to be the treatment, is what you said beautifully. You're going to open. So open means treat your tissue, your joints, all of that. And mechanics, which is having everything in perfect alignment.